So, just as a provocation, just as kind of throwing this thing out, the creative economy of tomorrow might actually not be so much about the new, but about interesting ways of playing with the old. Interesting ways of reusage, interesting ways of recycling. Similarly, in industrial design, this has become an interesting question. Designing for the age of no products. That is, the design paradigm has, to a great extent, been built on the notion that new products are coming onto the market continuously, which is, of course, again, implicitly assumes that there are consumers out there buying these new products all the time. But what will, or what could design mean in an age where buying new stuff is no longer what we do? What would designers do if no new products were created? Would they become extinct? Is this work of designer merely that of giving shape to new gadgets? Or can we think about design on another level, which would be less harassment in the workplace? Less is very infrequently in business management used as a positive word. But we are, perchance again, we are moving towards an age of less. An age where it might not be possible to live off China that creates things cheaply, where it might not be possible to travel as we've done, where the very notion of consumption might look greatly different. What does the cultural economy mean in an age of less? This doesn't necessarily mean scaling back of the cultural economy. This might actually mean something completely different. We might, in an age where it's not possible to travel as much, see that local cultural economies need to boom simply to fulfill these needs. We are seeing some interesting movements. I know Nina is actually working on one of the things that amuses me the most at the moment, namely the broadcast from the Metropolitan Opera in high definition over to movie theatres around the world. Now this is a perfect move in a kind of cultural economy of less. Not everyone can fly to New York, but why should they? So I think talking about culture, creativity and crisis might actually be a question of how can culture and creativity help in handling an age of less consumption, less movement, less expansion. That the cultural economy might not become the area that grows because the economy grows, but might even, provocatively put, be the area that grows as therapeutics against an age where we will see our living standards go down. But what does this mean for how the cultural economy is conceptualized? And then, of course, sustainability and the creative economy. Or, again, to provoke just a little, do we need another opera house? The expansion of the creative economy and the cultural economy, of course, also had its footprint on Earth. Of course, also was a question of sustainability. Wasn't a big bandit? Absolutely not. But looking towards the fact that we are living in an age which is acutely aware that we can't consume in the way we've had, not economically, because the age of cheap debt may be behind us, but not ecologically either. We're going to ask, what is a sustainable creative economy? What issues needs to be brought in to talk about how the notion of the novel and the expansive and the bubbly and the frivolous may have to be rethought for an age in which expansion and even the notion of progress might not look the way it has. All of these points I'm trying to bring out are not meant as distinctly as critiques of creativity. Rather, they are asked in the spirit of creativity itself. That is, if creativity truly is the creation of the new, the breaking with the framework, this must logically mean that creativity needs to break with its own definitions. A creativity that just rests on the same definitions it's always done is, by definition, logical paradox here, that creativity doesn't care, not creative. So when I ask questions about the creation of the new versus the creation of the old, the creation of complicitousness with the financialized economy, the notion of expansion versus the notion of sustainability, I'm not trying to say that creativity and the creative economy would have to be the one bearing, taking the world's sins upon its shoulder, but rather saying that if we want to talk about what creativity looks after the crisis, we seriously need to think about, is the creativity of today and tomorrow the same as the creativity of yesterday? Or will the socio-economic movements, the kind of challenges put up by the crisis, such that creativity itself needs to be seen in a different light? And it comes to kind of what leadership role, and leadership does not mean being a leader, but rather that the creative economy, the notion of creativity, has been given a form of leadership role in notions of how development and progress should go. It became the banner under which CEOs marched when they developed new and improved products for all of us. It became a byword for politicians who tried to get into the European Parliament by claiming to be the standard bearers for the creative economy. It became the thing we all kind of rallied around. But we live in an age which actually needs leadership, not in a fascist sense or a stern sense, but in a sense of a movement that kind of wants to trace what is to be done. For those of you who realize that's a quote from Lenin, that is not entirely by accident. What remains to be done? So my challenge to the creative economy and to the notion of creativity would be that creativity can, in my world, and in my vision of it, can no longer rest on being just accepted as the good thing. Rather, creativity needs to take a leadership role by showing what it is it can do. Not by resting on past glories, but by showing what kind of world can be built, what kind of things can be done by taking creativity seriously, and what kind of moment the creative economy wants to create. In an age where sustainability, local, the consuming and using less needs to become bywords and will become the framework within which we work, the creative economy cannot just rest and say, well, we're just here for the creation. But also be able to say, what form will we take? What shape will the creative economy of the future have?